Yeah, it's welcome to Podcast Professors, everyone. I'm Podfessor Tom.
Welcome. I'm Podfessor Will.
Will's here too, and Paul's probably somewhere eating a Hot Pocket. You know the drill. You know how it all goes. I don't know what to say here that you haven't heard already. You know, this is episode 5, so you made it 5 hours into this thing. So
congratulations.
I hope you feel vindicated in your purchase.
They have to.
Just 49 more of these left, Will. Then we're free.
Free. I mean, then we're sort of out of a job. I don't know. Sort of a glass is half full approach for me, this show, but it doesn't sound like that for you. At least lately. I mean, you're not your chipper Podfessor self.
Well, we'll talk about it after the break. Our theme today is how to
break already. Oh boy. Okay. It's
going
to be
the Billboard
a great show,
ladies
and gentlemen. This will be a blast.
How to persist when times are tough is our theme today. So that's what our lesson is about. So stick around for some good advice. From me, as I look over the edge into the abyss, I'll tell you what I'm thinking, and will. I don't know what he's got up his sleeve, but he'll talk too.
We'll have a great old time here, ladies and gentlemen. Do stick around.
All right, we'll be right back on Podcast Professors. And, welcome back to Podcast Professors. I'm Podfessor Will. I'm Podfessor Tom, and with me here is Podfessor Will.
I'm Podfessor Will.
Yeah.
How was this past week for you, Podfessor Tom? You sound dejected. To put it nicely.
I've never felt more like a failure in my life. I'll tell you that much. It didn't start out well when I broke my Chemex. I don't know about you, but I'm a rabid coffee fiend, and I've often sort of in the back of my head thought if I had to do it all over again, I really would want to be a shameless, amoral lobbyist for big caffeine.
Big coffee.
Yeah, well, not even necessarily coffee. Big
money.
Caffeine. I think I've come to learn that there's really no downside to a caffeine addiction. And if we could really, really shamelessly throw some propaganda into the culture to make sure everyone felt that way, I think I could sell that to the masses, So that's sort of where I start, and then my Chemex shatters into a million pieces because
not to just jump in here right away, but this is for you. This is sort of the Chemex shattering is sort of for you like your last heroin needle. Being sort of destroyed or bent, it's the cutting off of the pipeline, so to speak, of the just seemingly endless amount of caffeine that sort of courses through your veins on a daily basis.
I can't argue with that.
Am I picturing this correctly?
Yeah, and I like the pipeline analogy because it sort of feels like I'm living in the middle of an oil spill. I'm like a little duck in the middle of an oil spill here because it starts with the Chemex. And then I get a call from my publisher saying that my audio book, The Three Scrooges, has not been picked up because they actually didn't even know that I'd sent it over to them.
Which is actually funny because I'm sorry about your book not getting picked up, but I think it was sort of funny. You were waving in my face the past week your fancy Italian espresso machine that you bought for several $1,000s, and that was
I bought one
sort of bought under the assumption that you were getting that sweet book deal money.
It's worse than that, Will. It's worse than that. I bought one of those for every room of my house. And not only that, I sold my house and I began construction on an $8 million ranch in Montana on about 11,000 acres. And I
thought you had a property in Jackson Hole.
Well, I sold that one too because there was a great deal fairly close to Yellowstone. Wow. It's kind of between Yellowstone and the Tetons, and I thought, things are really looking up. So we got this big ranch. It's an $8 million ranch. The ranch itself is $8 million. So
does it have a house or
huge.
Is it just a plot of land?
No. That's the house on the 11,000 acres.
Oh, okay.
So
that's good.
There's a lot going on. There's I bought 33 horses. There's a staff of 12 that are permanently living in the the quarters. So I mean, there's little houses for the staff all over the place as
Oh,
well,
there's
and
a sort of slave quarters, if you will.
they get they were going to get paid fine. I've had to let them all go now though, because I really thought once I got an academic book published by Little Brown that there was really nothing stopping me from becoming a billionaire.
Well,
And
obviously you got screwed by Little Brown Publishing, so just another example of, and I think I don't know, I might have, I hate to make this a told you so moment, but I did have my doubts about Little Brown and some sort of their shady corporate business practices.
I don't trust
I
anybody
did
who.
I did make this quite self-evident and apparent on previous shows that Little Brown meant no good for your future business dealings, but
The same way that
more power to you. I
uh,
know you submitted it to Penguin Publishing and all the prestigious
well, no, I couldn't because I
publishing
signed
houses
a
of note.
non-compete with Little Brown, so I
Oh,
can't
you
submit it
couldn't.
anywhere else. And they've
Wow.
they still
They
own
just
the
crashed your.
yeah they own the proposal for the book, so I can't take it anywhere else. But they're holding me hostage more or
Yikes.
less. And the same way that that leprechauns are sort of these mischievous little creatures, Little Brown similarly acts the same way as a little trickster that just seems to want to trip me permanently throughout the day. So it's just constant. I get back up and I'm tripped again over and over again. And so,
Wow.
I've got this Montana ranch and I don't really know what to do with it. I'm several, tens of millions of dollars in debt right now.
Sure.
And
Yeah. I mean, how much, just hypothetically, how much are you spending on cattle feed in a month? Just to keep
a
the
couple
ranch up and
100,000,
running?
it's,
100,000.
well,
Wow.
I got the nice stuff, Will.
I mean, what?
It's organic, it's not, I don't
Sure.
want
No,
these horses to die young. These are a long-term investment.
no, I understand about the stallions needing high quality food, but the cattle, from what I understood, you were trying to get into sort of meat farming
Yeah.
sustainably.
Yes, that's
But
true.
I mean, I know that the cows are just sitting there. The ranch is just sort of just laying there dormant, and a few 100,000 a month. I mean, what was your beyond the book? Did you have anything else going for you, or
Well, I was like,
is this podcast the only thing
kind of like
other than the book?
like you alluded to, I sort of, threw a bunch of irons into the fire because I thought I could get
Right.
started with the meat. I could sell, I could package some Timothy hay and sell it as guinea pig food.
Right.
It was
You
sort
were
of a,
also you were gonna get into those, from what I remember, I got a text at like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, my time. Just a random idea. I think a business proposal about, you wanted to get into the business of taking those old cattle hides and turning them into rugs.
That's
You know,
true.
the sort
Yeah.
of rugs that you see at like a log cabin,
It's
for
well,
instance.
I wanted to turn those
And
into a
I just
carpet.
thought that
I was going to make
I appreciated that you thought of me as a potential business partner, but it just was an odd time for a text. I don't know what that was all
Look,
about. I just never brought it up
I would say
until now.
it's not a great time for me to give you business advice, Will, but what's worked for me up until the last week, spectacularly so, I might add, is when you get a burst of inspiration, you commit your entire life to that inspiration until the next burst of inspiration. So I had this thought at
don't take
middle
this
of the
the
night.
wrong way. It really just sounds impulsive, and it sort of seems very, very impulsive. I don't know if that's a good business quality.
Much
To
like
have.
caffeine addiction, I'm unconvinced impulsivity
Right.
has a downside.
You just crash and burn is the thing. You have all these great ideas, and I'm hearing about, I'm getting 60 text messages at 3 o'clock in the morning, and then I text you back the next day in the afternoon, and I hear nothing, and I hear
Yeah.
nothing until about 8 p.m.
Well, that's
And then I get a stream of consciousness texts. It's just sort of, it's a sad reality, ladies and gentlemen. But caffeine addiction it can ruin lives, and
Well-
it is something that I've considered rehab for myself, of course, in terms of how much caffeine.
I'll say
is
this much,
consumed
Will.
on a daily.
I encourage you to go to rehab for
Yeah.
any number of problems except caffeine addiction. I think that one's really that's not the one I would be worried about if I were you.
It is worrisome though. If you start shaking, having headaches without consuming something on a daily basis, for example, that's not by
Yeah.
any means normal.
In your case, I assume it's other problems, other addictions, maybe. Things that are a
None
little
that
more
I know of.
sinister.
None to
Well,
speak
you're
of.
right. You don't admit it until you're ready for that rehab stage, which clearly you're not quite there, and that's fine. That's your cross to bear, I suppose. But I will say I'm disappointed as well in our listeners because our university did not receive enough funds from the Kickstarter to actually get them. They had a goal of a certain number of thousands, and unless they got to that goal, they got none of the money. And it turns out Super Troopers 2 got about $1 million more than they asked for, but higher education couldn't make it up to its initial goal. And so our university is closed now. And this,
Yes.
I hate to say it, is now an unaccredited. Well, it's just a podcast now. It's not even a course, really. It's the two of us rambling into microphones, and that's all it is now.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. We've been sort of defunded. We talk about in popular vernacular, defund the police, and defund all these institutions that are just absurdly overfunded. Defund them, defund this and that. But incidentally, before any of those were defunded, a lot of schools and places of learning were defunded. Knowledge has its place, but
let's say this much: it's not defunding at this point. We've abolished education at this point.
Yes.
It's
well,
there is not a school that's struggling to keep the lights on. It's a big building for sale.
Yeah, it's something that could be potentially converted into many living areas, future apartments, probably a little, area for a supermarket. And, it's sad,
yeah.
really. It's it's a place that used to be regarded as a fountain of knowledge, our university, and
now it's dried up. That fountain is just
welled up.
It's
yeah,
sand. It's a desert.
It's been filled in with a sand pit, and the water table has completely vanished. It's just, it's basically and I'm speaking sort of out of my element. I'm a podcasting expert and by no means a geologist or anything, but I would say that it's akin to several 100 million years ago when the Sahara was actually a very lush jungle, from what I understand, just a very lively area of fertile land, and now it has become a barren, dry desert. And this is sort of what our university has become.
Well, and so it's another instance of some revenue drying up for me because when I got some of these calls,
that too, yeah,
and it looks like okay, maybe the Montana thing is going to blow up in my face.
Little Brown actually blew up in your face before that.
Yeah, well, yes, and the Chemex shattered into my face before that even.
Right.
But so I guess the thing that I always fell back on was at least I have that healthy salary from my tenured position in higher education. And it's one of those things when you get tenure, you really think you have job security. When you live in a developed country, you anticipate higher education will exist, from year to year. It's not like opening a restaurant. But I mean, apparently it is, and so I essentially have no income and tens of millions of dollars I have to find, and on top of all of that, just another insult to the injury, to the several injuries. I mean, I'm seeking refuge in my bunker with all of the post office workers who've actually set up a new USPS, which it's not what you're thinking. It's actually the underground.
It's called it's called the new SPS, right?
That's what. Yeah, I mean, well, they don't have an official trademark because they didn't want to get caught. But that's what they're going by. And so we're down there. I'm just thinking maybe I should start working here as an underground post office worker at the new SPS.
What does out of curiosity, what does the new SPS pay? Just for entry level.
It's it's a little less than I'm accustomed to, and I'd have to make some cuts, maybe get rid of some of the horses But I think I would be able to keep my credit, going. I can make some of the payments that I need to make. But anyway, we're down there, and I hear this large knock on the door. This big echoey metal door, and I open it up. Well, I have to undo the airlock and open it all up, and it's kind of a pain actually to open everything up. But I open it up, and guess who's there? Who would you guess?
Henry Kissinger.
Henry Kissinger was not there, no, but you're kind of in the ballpark. It was Rand Paul, Senator Rand Paul from Kentucky.
Oh gosh, the Rand Paul,
the Rand Paul, not one of these impersonators.
What on earth was he doing?
Well, he told me that as he was walking out of the Republican convention last week, he got yelled at by 2 or 3 snowflakes, and he had to seek refuge from these savages. And so he had heard from this show. I guess he was thinking of starting a podcast. So he was one of our students. I don't know what that says about anything, but there's some implications there for sure.
Possibly.
Yeah. So he heard that I had a bunker. He tracked it down, probably using some kind of crazy illegal government, techniques, if you ask me. And then he gets in there, and he quickly goes from seeking refuge, a refugee. Senator Rand Paul, looks around, and instead of fixating on water and food and the fact that I have a large bunker that's safe, he sees instead an underground post office, and then he turned around, and his priorities shifted, and so let's just say it's now illegal to have an underground post office, and I am being sued by the federal government, and they have actually taken my bunker from me. So
wow. And have you spoken to the ACLU, or have you gotten anyone involved in the underground postal working community that can sort of help you out with?
Well, I did
crowdfunding some legal fees.
The ACLU set me up with this they call her a hotshot young lawyer, and she was telling me some of.
So she's a hotshot lawyer.
She's a hotshot. Yes,
is what you're telling. Okay, well, excellent.
I'm told. Anyway.
Always, it works in your favor. Continue, please.
So she's meeting with me, and I gotta say, I've watched my fair.
I gotta say, hubba. You're meeting with a hot shot. This just sorry. Continue. This just sounds like how could it get any worse? Well,
no, this was
sued.
This was the silver lining, to get this conversation right, and
sure, yeah, and I mean,
yes, you still there?
No, go ahead.
So I'm talking to her, and you code switch, right? There's a whole podcast on code switching when you're talking to Rand Paul, who's sort of rabidly foaming at the mouth. Talking about the power of the federal government, you talk to him one way, you talk to the debt collectors another way, and you talk to a hotshot lawyer in a certain sort of suave, charming way. But I'll say this much: I've watched my fair share of John Grisham adaptations throughout the '90s, and I think I pretty much know how the legal system works. And I found that she did not seem to agree with me on several things. And so I, as one does who has been wronged, I would interrupt her and correct her. And she thought that it got a little bit too mansplainy. And suffice it to say, the ACLU has dropped me as a client. So I'm just, I'm sitting here on my Montana ranch, surrounded by horses, wondering what comes next. And that's, it's tough to worry about a podcast at this point, an unaccredited little podcast, when my entire world has fallen apart in 4 days here.
Yeah, wow. It does sound like you've had quite a lot going on in a very short amount of time. Yes. I will say. And yeah, as far as the ACLU situation goes, all the best there.
She won't even return my calls, Will.
To be fair, I've been in a room before where you think a few things about something, and you go off.
Well,
and getting
this
a word
is my
in
life,
edgewise
Will.
Is kind of impossible.
Will, this is my life.
It's impossible to get a word in edgewise.
I can't.
Interrupt,
I can't
and then
let
sort of
wrong hoods,
interject.
win
Go ahead.
out.
I'm sorry. No. Yeah.
Sorry, were you talking?
You can't.
I didn't hear you.
Yeah. No, I was talking.
What
But,
do you
yeah.
want?
Well, no, just that.
No, take it.
You
Take
know,
take the mic. Take the spotlight. Go for it.
Well, no, it's. I mean, here's the
It's
prime
yours.
example of what I was
This
just about
yours.
to say.
The spotlight.
You just sort
I
of
am butting
seem
out.
to
It's your turn.
seem to not really.
It's not my turn to talk.
Enjoy
I'm not
it
trying
when people,
to steal it. It's yours.
They say conversation is sort of a two-way street, and it's just it is to be fair to the lawyer, the hotshot lawyer you were talking to.
Yeah.
I would say that you get really annoying when you're sort of mansplaining and grandstanding about stuff that you've just sort of seen movie adaptations about with Tom Cruise in them. I think I was at a faculty event where we had an air show one year, and because you saw the Tom Cruise movie where he's a pilot.
Yeah,
you thought you knew everything about planes as well.
I can glean a lot. I learn quickly. You show me an instructional video, I know what I'm doing.
But I mean, you also watch Scrubs, and you sort of think that you know everything about medicine too, and it's just that you don't understand that there is a line between reality and TV, and then you just grandstand and I'm sorry. Can you hear a vacuum in the background by any chance?
I can. Yes.
That would be. I'm just. I have the kids today and been crazy. So
you have the. Oh, is the old lady not around? Like, is she out of town on like a business trip? I thought she was a stay-at-home mom.
There's an au pair, and we're just trying to essentially career focus. But yeah, the quadruplets and then the twins are all being taken care of quite fine. So
Can I say, Will, I've noticed on your wife's Facebook that she's taken off the married to Podfessor Will, little thing in her about section.
We don't, something about me is that I don't like to talk about my personal life, sort of in formal settings.
Sure, there's a time and a place.
We can gloss exactly, and
well, and can I say the place I would say the place is not on an accredited master class, but since that is not what we do now, and I guess this is just a phone call, it is kind of the
purpose
place.
has sort of shifted, I guess. It's less than professional and sort of more of like what would you call a side hobby?
Yeah. No, it's my only, it's the only thing keeping me going right now. I have literally nothing else in my life at the moment.
Well, I mean, we do make a little money from the podcast just because of the sponsors, and that's actually a great segue here. Our first sponsor of the day.
Okay. Yeah.
Big Bob's Biltong Beef. Have you ever wanted to try biltong, but you weren't sure if it would taste too similar to dog treats? Well, I have quite a deal for you. Big Bob's Biltong Beef will go ahead and ship you an express package of their hot biltong beef strips. Have you ever tried this, Tom? Biltong, it's sort of the latest craze in the beef jerky market.
Biltong. I can't say I've heard of it. Is it like a special seasoning?
It's just a sort of beef jerky type of meat, but it's been shaved as you would a ham
like
or
like gyro meat.
Sort of like a thin slab of meat.
Okay.
That's been shaved. I don't know how to describe it.
Maybe
our audience could sort of look it up for themselves.
Order this? Is this something that they serve? Does it belong to a specific culture? Like if I go to a Greek restaurant, can I order a biltong?
Well, no, not necessarily. But you can find this on shelves in South Africa and many other African countries. This is basically sort of a preserved meat thing. Been used for thousands of years, even.
Preserved for
sort of
thousands of years or eaten for thousands of years?
well, eaten for thousands of
Okay,
years.
good. Yeah.
I would say that would take a long time to make biltong if we had to age it for 1,000 years. But
Now I was sent some copy by Paul for some biltong bourbon. Now I don't quite get the correlation here. Can you illuminate a little bit for me?
I don't know if that is that. Well, I don't have Paul here with me today.
Thank God.
Yeah, no, don't get me started. But yeah, Paul is not here today, so I can't ask him for sure. But that probably just an error. The only biltong.
You know what I think? I think Paul's trying to make me look like a fool. I think he's sending me gibberish. You know, you're reading a perfectly normal ad read, and Paul's sending me gibberish, so I'm supposed to say, well, tell him about the bourbon, Will. And you say, there is no bourbon. That's not part of it. And then Paul's yucking it up, and then everyone else is laughing at, poor Tom on his $8 million Montana ranch over here. What a jerk, right? That's what Paul wants, and I'm sick of it.
I'm glad you brought this up because I'm just going to ask you, do you know even the topic of this show? I was told by Paul that the topic of the show is how to succeed at business and win friends. And I said, that's the title of a book, Paul. And he said, yeah, I know, but that's what Tom and everybody else in the sponsors agreed on. And I was like, okay, all right.
That's not.
What is the topic of today's show anyways?
The topic is how to persist when times are tough. So like,
see, that's right there, a prime example. If we were supposed to talk about the show today and we weren't on the same page, that's just clear sabotage. I mean, that's just prime example of Paul trying to, pull a fast one on us. And I'm not appreciating any of this.
He's trying to pit us against each other, I think.
He is. He's trying to make us confused, and he's trying to divide and
conquer.
And basically. I mean, I don't know if, and this is not professional, but who cares anymore? But I've heard that Paul has actually started his own podcast.
Oh, I'm looking right now at the email, the press release, in fact, for his entire podcast empire, as he calls it, the gall of this little intern who now is not. He's effectively a college dropout, and yet he thinks he can start a podcast empire called Buckaroo Podzai. It's not, I could come up with 35 better podcast empire names off the top of my head right now, and he would not be able to use any of them. Let me tell you that much. But it's a funny, it's one of those things where, there's the irony of, it's like a Quibi, right? We all know how this is going to go, and sometimes it's fun to watch a train crash. But go ahead, Paul. Like you're free. We don't need you around here. Why don't you go ahead and start your own podcast empire? We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, Paul's a dirty, rotten sellout, and he can definitely feel free to sort of move on to greener pastures if he feels like we're, not being formative enough, or our expertise is not appreciated anymore. Maybe that's it. Maybe there's just nothing more we can do for him.
Oh my God, I'm scrolling through the episodes on his new show, which is a pop culture recap, because the world needs another one of those, Paul. We really need more pop culture recaps. There's not enough shows out there that go through the pop culture of the week. But anyway, episode 2, I see is sponsored by Tesla. How did he get Tesla to sponsor? How is Elon Musk giving Paul money, and we got bobbity beef over here?
Well, no, it's not. It's Big Bob's Biltong Beef. That's
whatever.
Whatever.
You know what I mean. It's not Elon Musk. I mean, although South Africa connection, that is actually kind of odd.
I would appreciate. Let's maybe keep it at a minimum. They're cutting us a paycheck to bring them up in the show. And we don't want to say any negative things towards Big Bob. He's cut us a heck of a deal here, Podfessor Tom, and. That's more than I can say about our next sponsor. And this is another perfect segue. And this is how you do it, folks. And this is why you listen to the professionals, is because we know how to do this. And this is just, this is Irish butter, grass-fed cow smooth. All right. Anyways, next sponsor here, Jamaican Jerk Seasoning.
Yes, yes,
Have you
yes.
ever been doing the jerk in your best Jamaican voice and thought, "Oh no, I bought all the stuff I need for this dish except for the seasoning"? Well, you're in luck. Jamaican Jerk Seasoning is a proprietary blend of Jamaican herbs and spices. This is a specialty blend that'll help savor any meal. Will improve any marinade, rub, or um sauce. I'm just having trouble reading this. I don't know.
Well,
uh,
I'll tell you this much.
Handwritten, so
I've tried this, and
just trying to.
I really do like it. At this point in my life, you'll notice we have a lot more sponsors this week than usual because we aren't getting our salaries anymore. And on top of that,
Yes. Well, the sponsors are sort of, we're in a boat that is sinking, and the sponsors are the bucket that we're using to bail ourselves out, so to speak.
my
So it's
$300,000 refrigerator in my $11 million Montana ranch,
it's
it
been
is.
going up in price. It's like a $5 million ranch, an $8 million,
I did
and
some improvements. Let's say,
eleven.
it just got we just had the assessor out, and I just heard.
I feel like you could be artificially inflating the price, and
Oh,
is
that's
that even legal? I mean, isn't
you. How dare you
isn't
accuse
there
me
a
of that?
law against sort of?
What a joke! What a
Never
joke,
mind.
Will. That's the funniest
Um,
thing you've ever said, and I don't even think you were joking. But I was just going to say, I am in sort of dire straits here, and my $800,000 refrigerator is stocked only with sponsor goods that they've sent me to be able to give testimonials of, which is not to say that there's anything ingenuine about the reviews, but the jerk seasoning, it's amazing on chicken, it's amazing on corn, I wonder if we could try it on the bobbity boobity beef, big bobbity's beef sticks. I think it might be really good.
well, they have their own special seasoning. I mean, there's different flavors of the biltong beef. You can buy the creamy jalapeno, or you could buy the teriyaki garlic blend. So they do have their own spices and herbs, but the Jamaican jerk seasoning, I had it on some chicken last night for dinner, and it was glorious. I would say that's probably the best damn chicken I've had in months. It's been hard to find meat lately, so just finding some chicken. Um, I will say that it was probably a free range chicken. I found it on the side of the road.
Oh wow, okay. You found a
Um,
chicken like walking around.
well, it wasn't walking around. It was
It was dead. It was
recently deceased.
roadkill.
No, not necessarily roadkill. I would just say sort of humanely, the chicken had passed in the recent couple of hours, maybe,
In its
and
sleep.
you know maybe in its sleep, maybe it had a bit of a tire mark across
This
part
Will,
of.
you're not eating roadkill, are you? Have we been reduced to eating meat that's been run over on the side of the road? Is that where we
Well,
are? We are men of academe. All right, we're better than this, Will.
Tom, for all of our advanced degrees, and NYU, I'm a proud alum. I will say, I didn't expect to be eating chicken like this, but there is only a limited amount of chicken lately. Sort of a problem that our country is facing, one of many,
Yeah,
with the Trump virus sort of spreading around
it's
and
true.
infecting everyone. So, things are, it's sort of a, individualistic, rugged approach, right?
Now, Will, can I
Got to
ask
do
you a question though? Because I know you've been kind of down on the Trump virus, but I did happen to catch a little bit of the Republican convention last week, and I saw you were giving a speech at it. And I first of all was shocked to see you there. I didn't know you were that entrenched in Republican politics. But you looked like you had the time of your life. And to be fair, it was one of the more coherent speeches of the week. So I mean, what was that all about?
Like we've been talking about, paychecks are hard to come by, and especially during the virus times. It's just, it's impossible to find a speaking gig anywhere. No university is really open.
But
to that
they were having trouble
degree, and
recruiting people for that one, and so it was sort of like a
they
open
needed a
admissions.
man. Exactly. It was sort of a I'll pay you 4,000 to 20,000 depending on experience.
Yeah, yeah.
Level paycheck, and you just sort of show up and read something off a teleprompter. And I never read the speech at all. They just sort of had me say whatever was written. A few things I found personally horrifying, but I'm getting some money from this, and ultimately, when President Trump passes away, I will get a small degree of inheritance money.
Well,
I'm going to be
I don't
written
know.
into the will, so I sort of wanted to be there to ensure that that paycheck would be collected.
But I mean, I got to say, you really sold it. So I mean, if this was an acting performance that was based in sort of ingenuine feelings, you had a whole chant going. You had them all screaming. Well, I forget what the chant was, but then
The funny thing was, I didn't even feel that great that night. I sort of had a runny nose, red, watery eyes. I was sort of, half frothing at the mouth, sort of just screaming. A lot of people, a lot of people say, "Were you on drugs?" And I said, "Of course not." And
well,
who are you going to believe?
I don't know what the catering was like there, but I'll say that maybe wasn't unusual for the evening. I doubt you stuck out really, as far as any of those
No, I
qualities
mean,
go.
I of course, yeah, I was perfectly controlled and reined in, and we, I will say I had an energy drink beforehand. It was a very natural energy drink. It was a maca root,
Mm.
sort of proprietary energy blend,
Mm.
and that just turbocharged my evening. And that's what I would primarily say, sort of set off the sort of the rabid speech, where I was screaming
Yeah,
into like an empty hall
Well, and then I
where
mean, well,
nobody was sitting.
there were some people. I mean, you crowd surfed the little crowd that was there, and there's just some decrepit old people there, and I mean, when you broke that guy's elbow, and I think he might have
That
died
guy,
later on that night. I don't know if it was really your
that
fault, but it was pretty intense to watch on national news.
yeah, we don't need to talk about that guy, and that's been all handled perfectly fine, and I'm not legally obligated to say anything about that. So, um,
Okay, well, say no
not
more.
the perfect segue here, but we, as you'll notice, we have been getting more sponsors. I gave the speech, mostly just sort of extolling how bad the Trump virus is and how badly we are all infected with it, to this degree, and sort of how could we ever move past this. But we will, we'll figure it out as we go along. I'm sure our economy will just, restart itself, and we're all here just to collect a paycheck, and that just brings us to our next sponsor here, and our last one of the day, fortunately. But here we go. Green Oven. Have you ever felt the need to go green? Have you ever felt the need to go green while cooking from home? Now, Green Oven has the perfect solution for you. Uh, have you ever experimented with these meal kits, Tom, before?
Green Oven. I'm sure I
Yes.
have some. Let me dig through some of my drawers here and look around. Green Oven. Yeah. I've got. It's a Green Oven kit that everything is. Oh dear. Well, it looks like part of the Green Oven approach is they don't want plastic, they don't want styrofoam. But what I can tell you is the drawer I just opened has about 200 mice in it, and so I
Oh,
might spray some some kind of poison into the drawer before I experiment with the food. But my Montana ranch might not have been the best place to have this packaging that is completely biodegradable and apparently edible.
yeah. I don't know about the packaging being edible,
Well,
but I do
the
know that
mice seem to be just
green.
fine. I don't think they're exploding or dying at
So
this
they're
point.
probably getting perfectly fat off of your your green oven subscription.
I'll say
That's
this much, Will. I'm glad somebody's enjoying it. I'm glad the nutrients are being absorbed into a healthy young body.
Well, the thing is, their health is sort of to your detriment, and that is something I don't understand why you would be happy about. But all the best to you there, and that situation will hopefully
thank you
resolve itself.
It's the least of my worries right now, Will. It's the last thing on my mind.
Well, yeah, it does sound like you've had a heck of a week, but again, living in squalor is not something that I would personally feel comfortable dealing with a challenging issue.
I think I've just
nonetheless
my mind is broken. I think is what just happened there, and
I think it could be. I think it probably is. And Theraply was a previous sponsor, and
I've used up all my free sessions. So Theraply,
I have a couple of coupon codes. Maybe if they still work, I could kind of help you continue that. Along that path of
send it over.
That you
send it over.
So clearly need.
Before my internet dies, because I haven't paid the bill, if you could send it sooner rather than later, I'd appreciate it.
Well, when the internet dies, how long after that until the power? And then what's the point?
Not long.
So maybe
not long.
Yeah. Maybe, living on the street or in your car, or whatever you need to do, that's just part of the American dream.
One of my trucks,
there are going to be setbacks.
Well, a few of my trucks that I bought have pretty big beds in the back. I think I might move one of my mattresses out there and just drive.
You
toward
could always
the Tetons.
live on the. Just drive right into the Tetons.
Yeah,
just kidding.
We'll see how I'm feeling that day.
Yeah, that was obviously a joke, and I don't advocate for you to do that at any point.
I'll be sure to blame you if things go that direction, and both because of the joke and because you promised me some therapy sessions, and if I don't get them, who knows?
Okay, well, we'll definitely talk about this off air, but green oven, everybody, it's a healthy alternative towards that over industrialized, overconsumption ridden. Big produce markets. It's just sort of an alternative. A lot of vegetables come shrink wrapped, so that's sort of the plastic wrapping you heard Professor Tom talking about there. They do try and dehydrate a lot of vegetables as well. So any sort of garlic, you're going to find that dehydrated. A lot of soup mixtures dehydrated. Any sort of vegetables dehydrated, rice. They basically sell you dehydrated food, and that's good for you because it's good for the environment, and that's good for the big picture.
And
I will say
sure
this copy has a lot of just open ends here, so I'm just trying to fill it in.
Yeah,
as
that's
best
fair.
I can. But
I will say this much,
green oven.
Make sure to use promo code JERKIT when you get your green oven. Food, which I think must be good because the mice are having a heyday over here. So yeah, promo code JERKIT.
I think that's the promo code for the Jamaican jerk seasoning. JERKIT.
Oh, that would make sense.
For green oven, I have offer code Eco Frico.
Well, okay, that also makes more sense.
Eco-friendly here, so I think that's the whole green oven image.
Well, I can't blame
do
Paul.
Yourself a favor, do the earth a favor.
Can't blame Paul this week because I haven't heard from him. I deleted my Snapchat after getting in a little bit of a fight with him because, as somebody over there, Paul, starting Buckaroo Podzai, he's got 8 new shows that he's launching. And, I would say it's not to say, I get there's a point when your mentors are, they feel beyond approachable. They become idolized and godlike to you. And, I certainly I've been in that situation. I've been a god to many people, many communities. And I guess I thought, though, that we had reached a little bit of an understanding with Paul, and he would see the dire straits of the education system we're in. And, he's starting his little joke company, and I would have turned him down for sure. But to have been offered the chance to do a show, on his network would have would have made me appreciate and forgive him for all the troubles he's caused me and all the rudeness I feel that he's acted with when trying to correct my wrongs. He doesn't have the approach of a sensitive doctor with great bedside manner. He's a harsh, large man. And I really wanted to be able to talk to him about doing a show. And when he didn't contact me, I will say there were some Snapchats that I regret, but I am grateful at the same time that they were gone after 7 seconds, and that he can't, you can't screenshot a Snapchat. And let's just say we're all happy about that. It will be good for me in the long run that that's the case. And I'm glad I did it on Snapchat, not a normal text.
My God. Sorry, I was just having a sneezing fit there. My God. So, a couple things with that. I suppose I should probably let you know that Snapchat can certainly be screenshotted, so that's an immediate fallacy.
Where'd you hear that? You hear that on One America
internet.
News? Over there at the Republican convention, they were spouting off Snapchat facts. I'll take my chances on this one, Will.
Well, fair enough, and all the best with that. I think we're pretty much at the end of our show here. Do you have any other any sort of thoughts, or I suppose we should address our topic generally.
Oh, yeah,
for a minute or two.
I'll tell you this much: so, how to persist when times are tough. I'm about ready to quit the business. I think I might get a job as a ranch hand on a neighboring acreage and take my chances.
I feel like that's a good approach, and I feel like if you sell a few things from your nice $800,000 ranch, maybe you can sort of buy a tent and live undisturbed on the edge of your property where you once lived.
I whatever it's going to take at this point, but I have to say I feel like Academe is not respecting me. I feel Paul does not respect me. I feel that the Little Brown certainly is a little jerk, and I don't know why I'm bowing to their altars when instead I could just be waking up with the sunrise, chewing tobacco, and riding horses. I think there's a clear American solution here, which is it's not exclusively westward, but it's sort of like northwesterly headed, and it's very natural. And I'm happy to sort of open a new chapter. And so I guess my advice when it comes to how to persist when times are tough is sometimes it's not worth persisting. Persistence might be overrated because everyone is terrible. And if you want to succeed, well, too bad.
Well, I don't quite have the same approach when it comes to persistence. I would say that I'm a little bit more positive in my general outlook, and I think persisting is an important part of Gwendolyn, can we sorry, I'm just speaking to the au pair at the moment. Gwendolyn, can we
Oh my goodness, Will, are you seeing your wife's Twitter right now by any chance?
No.
I'm seeing some pictures of you and Gwendolyn on it. It looks like she's not happy. You should have been using Snapchat. I'll say that much. But oh my goodness, she is going off on you right now. Not in a sexual way. In an angry way.
Well, that's certainly confusing.
Oh my goodness, Will, this is
something that certainly can not be addressed on the air, and I will not comment further. And I would appreciate if you would maybe keep it to yourself as well. And I do want to thank our sponsors, and I would say persisting, Tom, for me is certainly something where you you must move forward in life, and things are never as they seem when it comes to persisting, but you should do it anyways. With that,
oh my goodness, Will, I can't believe you're doing these things. Oh my God, you're a monster.
We don't need to. This is obviously just sabotage. I don't know why you're falling for this.
It's Photoshop. Is that what you're saying? You deny
it's
that this
probably
is real?
Paul. I'm saying that Paul might be trying to blackmail me into, you know, being a dirty, rotten sellout like he is. So I think, you know, I think that one thing has nothing to do with the other.
I think you should check this Twitter feed though, because this is pretty explosive stuff. You know, like you hear about Johnny Depp's divorce being explosive. Can I?
Sure, yeah, but can I interrupt you really quick to ask a question?
Sure.
So, is there? And I'm not looking at the feed at all at the moment, so this is alarming to me. But is there a picture there with Jerry Falwell Jr. by any chance?
I don't know that I know.
Or have you seen a picture where it's sort of unmistakably his face in the left-hand corner?
Oh, that guy. Oh, and that's not Gwendolyn in that picture.
Great. Oh no, great. Well, that is the one that I was really hoping would not get out into the public sphere, but. Again, it's probably just Paul sabotaging, photoshopping.
Lesson for the day: always use Snapchat for anything you want to keep hidden forever. All your secrets. Use Snapchat.
Lesson 2: don't do any of that, and certainly, screenshot any potentially illegal and certainly alarming. Snapchats that you might get throughout the day. But anyways, I do need to go. I am getting told by what is that?
That's our outro music.
Oh, I'm currently
you're talking
looks like I'm being served. Okay, well, this is great. So I need to get going here. Obviously, there's been a few things that have developed with my life as well. You know, I've loved talking about your life for the past hour here, Professor Tom, but things are sort of jumping right out. This is just a great day.
I'd feel worse for you if I didn't see all this visual evidence of you having so much fun. I got to say that much. I mean, you clearly had some good times along the way. And there's...
I will say that, had any of those pictures been accurate, that if they had been, and if there were pictures in Corfu, that they would be some of the greatest times of my life. But, obviously it's all a fake scam and a dirty, rotten scheme to coerce money out of my very extremely large Republican National Convention payout check. So I'm going to be seeking... you know what? I need to get going. My lawyer is now telling me to just stop talking altogether. So...
All right.
Signing off.
I'll say I'm feeling good. This was a good hour for me, and I appreciate getting the chance to see some of your misery because I really needed it. It's been a real pick me up, and I'm feeling pretty good again.
They say misery is the best company, and I guess I don't know if that's a good thing necessarily, but I do now feel sort of better for you. Given that I feel worse for myself.
That's
maybe
great.
There's something to that.
Yeah.
Maybe there's nothing to that. We'll never know.
Well, we'll be back next week regardless with our whatever the show is on Podcast Professors. So I don't know if it's really a masterclass anymore. I don't know what it is, but it's self-help for me.
We're certainly not getting paid by masterclass anymore. So I'll just, I think we can make that even more clear than it needs to be.
And whatever you do, don't listen to Paul's terrible new empire. Otherwise, we'll be back next week, everybody.
Stay safe and don't contract the virus. And make sure to use Snapchat if at all possible.
Yes. All right. I'm Podfessor Tom.
And I'm Podfessor Will.
All right. We're off, everybody.
Have a good week.